Wednesday night. We're gonna do a little flowy class. I'm kind of feeling a little yin and flow kind of vibe tonight. So I think we'll start with a little bit of yin. If you guys are open to that, just kind of a longer held pose, a couple hip things, and then we'll do some flow. So I'm gonna start with 2 yoga blocks, one under my shoulder blades, one under my head. If you've got 2 blocks, you can do the same thing. If you don't have blocks, a rolled up blanket or a throw pillow. You can put a throw pillow on a diagonal so your shoulders kind of have enough room. And then it'll kind of be like a fish pose. It's pretty great. You can have the blocks level, or I'm going to turn mine up so it's a little bit higher under my head. And then I'm going to do a little butterfly with my legs. So, the first part is to get the block in the right spot, which is sort of just about at the shoulder blade level. So you can feel the big expanse of the shoulder blades kind of on the block. That's about right. If it feels like it's poking you right between your ribs, go just a little bit lower and that should do the trick. And then you can adjust the head up or down to kind of make it feel just right for you. If it's a little too spicy with the legs, you can just straighten them out. That'll work too. Or throw some little support under there as well. It's summertime, and one of the things about summer that happens for me anyway is I get a little busier in my brain. I've got all these little ideas percolating in my brain right now, and so giving myself a chance to kind of calm down and cool down, especially at night. Take some deep breaths. It's very helpful. Kind of transition myself into the later evening. I can come back to the busy noises tomorrow. Otherwise they'll keep me up, along with the coffee I drank earlier. They'll keep me up all night. One way that we can cool our practice down is to practice with the eyes closed so that the information that we're receiving from the body is really the focus rather than the visuals of things. I'm discovering like a little bit of extra tension in my right shoulder, so I've turned my head away from my right shoulder to try to get a little extra sense of opening there. I'm even going to let that right arm rest out of it. So as you hang out with your poses, if things become kind of clear, like maybe you're holding tension up between your eyebrows, or there's a little shoulder tension or something like that, you can start to morph your pose to play with it. Stay for about another minute. gonna take 2 more big breaths. Now the first thing I'm gonna do is just kind of gently adjust my legs. Stretch them out. And then I'm gonna get these goodies out from underneath my back. If I can untangle it from my hair. I'm gonna lie back down and take a moment. You can do a little back massage either by rocking on the lower part of the back or the upper part of the back. I like to reach the arms forward to do this upper part of my back because it sort of gets my shoulder blades out of the way and oh, it feels good. Well, that's kind of that feeling of my upper back kind of widening out. Kind of assists in that sensation of wideness, openness. So we're gonna do a little banana. So one side is gonna get stretched and one side is gonna get curled in. You can pick which side. So I'm gonna stretch out the left side first. So I'm moving to the right. The arms can go straight overhead or more like a cactus, or they can even come down a little lower. So kind of feel out what you think would be the best. Sometimes I notice that I'm trying to do a twist and a side bend, so just sometimes I have to undo whatever it was I just did and start over. Here we go. Let's do less arms, that might be less abusive. You can cross the outside leg over the inside leg at the ankle if you want to. Yeah, that feels kind of good. So go for that. So I try to find like just the beginning sensation of like, oh, I feel that stretching across my hip. If it feels like it's too much, like I really feel a tug, I'll back off a little bit and then go back in a little after a few minutes. But I want to feel the sense of kind of easing the seat back a little bit, kind of letting myself really relax into the pose. So if it's too spicy, it's harder to relax. Take a nice deep breath. We're about halfway through here. Shy of 30 seconds left here. Okay, take a big breath. And we're going to meander back to the center and then pause for just a moment. You can just sort of shimmy the legs or the torso, or you can bring your knees in and do a little back massage, which I like, or a combination of the two, clearly. And then for a moment, just relax your feet onto the floor. Before we do the other side, we're going to play a little bit more with this idea. So we're going to take our right ankle and put it up on top of the left thigh. If you stretched your left side out. If you stretch the right side out, put your left ankle on top, okay? I know, that might be confusing. Hopefully not too bad. All right, so we're going to take the hands behind the head. You're going to press your head back into your hands nice and firm. And we're going to try to keep the neck nice and stable with the upper part of the back. We're going to use the abdominal muscles, especially this little front section of abs, upper abs, to really do this work. So we're going to try to lift our shoulder blades off the mat without using our neck. So just curling up on your exhale. Inhale, come on back down. Careful about overdoing things with the neck. Keep your head pressed into your hands so you really force your abs to do the work. Good, we're going to do 6 more. That might have been 6, but let's just do 1 more, just in case. I was paying attention to my abs instead of to counting. All right, so now we're going to keep the legs like this. I'm going to take my right arm, in this case, right leg, right arm goes out, and my left arm I'm going to reach across towards my knee. Again, if you overdo things with the neck, you can keep your head pressed into your hand with that left elbow coming towards that right knee, okay? Or vice versa. So we're going to curl up and come back down and stretch. Curl up, come back down, stretch. Curl up, come back down, stretch. Curl up, come back down, stretch. 3 more. That might have been 3. I'm going to do a bonus round because it's fun. All right, now unwind, stretch out, and my theory is that we're going to feel really super asymmetrical. You might feel like one shoulder kind of coming towards the opposite hip, or some interesting sensations. One leg might feel a little wonky compared to the other. It might not feel that way at all. That was just a theory. It might be wrong. I have to test it. Stretch out nice and long, and then we're going to come over. And actually, I guess technically it's a hypothesis because I haven't tested it yet. Okay, so I've got this nice long side here, right? My right side's all stretched out. I just want to kind of play with this outer hip. So this feels already like it's a little bit spicy to me. For some reason, I'm getting muscle cramps tonight on the opposite side. So I'm just going to stop for a second. Let that go. And then start again. Maybe I'm dehydrated. Oh, I need to consider that. Okay. So once you've got a stretch going there, that's it. That's enough. If you need more, add more. Cross the leg, go a little deeper into the pose. But as soon as you feel that, that's where we land. And then just breathe. We'll stay a little while. giving ourselves a chance to breathe and get nice and heavy. It might be a point, you might be at a point where like going a little deeper into the shape feels nice, or maybe you're realizing carrying too much stress in one spot, then you can lighten it up a little bit. We've got about 30 seconds left. Okay, we're going to take a nice big breath, and then we'll wander back to the center and check out how things went. Maybe do like a little back massage or some windshield wipers. And then I'm gonna put my right ankle up on top of my left thigh, so I'm on the opposite side. Okay, so now you can do exactly what we did last time and keep the feet resting on the floor, head pressed into the hands, curl up, come back down. So that, for me, anyway, really focuses on this upper part of the abdominals. And if that's an area that you want to work on, it's, not that it's not going to work all of your abs, because it does, but it's, a way to kind of focus a little bit more attention on that particular band of muscle. Or you can add on to it a little bit by floating the legs up. So we start with the knees basically below the navel, and then as you curl in, you'll bring your pelvis up as well as your upper back. And so just both curl in together. So you can do either one. Keep your head pressing back into your hands so you're not overdoing it with the neck. Make the abs do the work. More. Okay, so either your leg was still resting or you put your legs back down. I like that feeling, kind of noticing those abs unwind once I put the body down. It feels so groovy. Alright, so I'm going to take my left arm and just reach it out here beside me, press it up into the floor a little bit. So I've got a little bit of strength there. My right arm is going to do this John Travolta disco move where I'm going across. Oops. I think I may have put the wrong leg on top. In any case, you guys do it the right way. Anywho, pretty sure this is the way I'm supposed to do it now. So I'm going to go across towards this knee and come back. And again, you can put the hands back here so that you've got your head really pressed back, so you force your obliques to really do the work. So you want to feel the side waist doing the work. So reach through the arm, come up, come on back down. The head's just along for the ride because it's attached, okay? Stretch, reach, stretch, reach. Use your left arm as a stabilizer, or whatever the arm is that's on the floor. Do 3 more, and maybe a bonus round. I'm a fond. I have a fondness for doing extras. It's just my way of making myself do enough work. Alright, little games I play with myself. So I'm going to windshield wiper my legs out a little bit. Stretch out nice and long. And just sort of see where that landed me. I'm definitely feeling more symmetrical left to right, up to top to bottom. You may be, or maybe not. So let's come up to a seated position. We'll do some stuff with our neck, because maybe your neck could use a little extra love. Now, if your neck is really sensitive, clearly you should do the amount of work that's appropriate for your neck. You're the one who lives with it. So we're going to do a little bit of movement so we kind of clue in to where the tight places are. And then we're going to do a little bit of a release for the sternocleidomastoid muscles and a little bit of a release for the levator scapulae muscles. So these two muscles work as almost like bridge girders to hold the skull onto the neck bones in the right alignment. And so if you find that one of those girders is a little bit tighter, you can kind of work a little longer with the tighter one. So we'll just see what happens and see if we can get kind of a sense that we are appropriately kind of aligning our head, okay? So first sit up, so that your spine feels like it's pretty neutral, then drop your chin forward. So if it feels like you hunch over, come back to that taller feeling. And then we're going to try just rolling the head over one shoulder and then back, and over the other shoulder and back. Now if this is problematic, do a different range of motion or a different movement pattern so that you do things that are appropriate for you. Try to find each of these muscles. There's one, and as I come around here, I can notice that guy, and then the same thing happens over here. Kind of find that guy. That's where we're going to stop. So my right side is a little bit tighter than my left side, so I'm going to start with my right side. You can do this either way, but the muscle that I want to stretch connects my collarbone to just up here where there's a little place on my skull where my mandible fits in. It goes right to there. So I want to go from just behind my ear down to this collarbone. I'm going to try to make length there. So I'm going to let my head fall backwards on the diagonal. So if I want to stretch the right one, I go to the left, and then I'm going to pull my collarbone down and out to the side. You can use the arm as kind of leverage, or you can just try to work with the muscles around the shoulder to try to get that collarbone to depress and move. And if it's tight enough, this muscle, it will be difficult to move your collarbone to begin with the head moving in the back direction. So it might be enough already. And so again, for me, I feel it right there on the side of my neck. If you kind of know where the muscle lives, you might be able to find it. You know, if we're working some friend muscles nearby, that's fine too. Now, one of the cool things to me about neck muscles, because they're relatively thin compared to hips anyway, I find that they almost start to melt and get a little soft a little earlier. So we're going to do about 3 more breaths, but if you need to go a little longer, stay a little longer. And I'm already feeling a release here, so that the sensation is getting much softer. All right, to come out of this, I'm going to bring my arm back to my lap. And then I'm going to go for this other muscle on the same side of my neck, so on the right side. So I'm going to take my head and just roll it back down. Now this muscle lives between my shoulder blade and the back of my skull, right near the occiput, so the little ridge on the back. So I'm going to go, I'm going to try to stretch that area. So I'm going to take my head, again, diagonally to the left, this time forward, and then I'm going to try to pull my shoulder blade down and to the right. Again, you can use the arm for leverage. Sometimes reaching out back helps me. Sometimes just leaving my arm in my lap and really trying to draw that shoulder blade down is helpful. A little tiny bit of movement can be nice, but don't be on the very, very farthest edge of your stretch and do that. Like, back off a little bit so you just feel it. And then you can kind of move a little bit to find the really snug places. Work with those again. Just be kind and try to go slow and with a lot of awareness. even though these muscles are thin, they're in important areas for the nervous system anyway. All right, so now I feel like everything's melted, so I'm gonna kind of return my arm, and then I'm gonna let my head really gently float up. Before I do anything else, I'm just gonna relax for a second. And then I might do a little bit of movement. And then I'm gonna do some little shoulder circles. Okay, so now feel. So my right shoulder feels like it's kind of dropped, but more importantly, there's this kind of sense, like that sense that I was having when I was on the block, so there being tension here, has melted out a little bit. I don't feel that tug against my skull that I was feeling earlier. And so I'm gonna do the other side clearly. This actually almost feels completely normal level, but I'm gonna do my left side just to keep everything balanced. So to do that, I'm gonna, again, kind of take my chin down, and I'm gonna start with this guy in the front. So I'm gonna roll my head over to the right. And again, you might be doing your left side or your right side, whichever side your head goes opposite on the diagonal. And I'm trying to take this point of my skull right behind my jaw away from my collarbone. So I'm gonna take the collarbone down and to my left and my head up and to my right. So my hope is that I'm gonna get some space going there. Two more big breaths, I'm pretty close. Again, you just kind of judge this on how you're feeling of it. Do I feel like things get a little softer? Probably time to do the other side. So I'm gonna let my head roll forward. I'm gonna take my shoulder blade now and move it down away from the head. I'm gonna take my head diagonally away from my shoulder blade. And again, once you feel something, you can pause right there. Okay, so I'm going to bring my shoulder back. I'm going to let my head just gently float up out of that position. Take your time, move in. You can move the shoulders. I like to give the neck a moment. Absorb that movement before I go on with the neck, but a little movement sometimes feels nice. Okay, so hopefully that feels good. Everything feels a little lighter around your skull. So we're gonna take ourselves up to all fours and do a couple little cats, and then we'll do one more stretch for our shoulders. Yourself some little sidewinder moves, whatever feels nice. Now we're gonna do, I call this pose wide child's pose with a twist, but recently I was doing an online class and the girl called it reaching under the bed pose, which is fascinatingly accurate. So you can call it whatever you like. We're gonna reach under one side. Decide whether you're going into child's pose or not. And for me, I want the neck to be just the head is super light. I'm not having any pressure on my neck at all. So I want to shift the weight back into my hips so that you can either wrap your arm over your back. I like to put my arm up front and kind of let this become just a little opportunity for me to work with my shoulder. But I want the neck and the head to be super light, just along for the ride, baby. can move the hips a little back and forth to keep the low back comfy. Let's take about 3 more breaths. So we're going to come out of there. Give that arm a little shimmy. Now we're going to take the opposite leg forward. So since I use my right arm, I'm going to bring my left leg forward. And we're going to turn this into a lunge. So I'm going to do this little float forward and back. So I'm going to go forward until I feel that in the front of my hip. And then I'm going to come back. Now, sometimes my knee is problematic. I have discovered that if I keep my foot kind of lifted and roll back and forth, that I don't just experience the discomfort in my knee, that for whatever reason it was coming from like not enough structure. So you can try that and see if that works for you, but if this is problematic for your knee, you can also not do it, okay? You can kind of pick a spot and stay. But for me, just having that little extra bit of connection in the quads helps keep my knee happy and safe. So, one more. And then I'm going to pause for a second and just feel. At this point, I could put my leg down if I wanted to, because I'm not rolling back and forth over it. I don't get the same discomfort. Take one more breath. And then we're going to ease the hips back. And we'll stretch out this front side of the, or front leg back side, hamstrings. Leg in and out kind of gives me some different sensations, going back and forth with the toes. And explore that a little bit, and then pick a spot and stay. Or keep exploring. It's your mat. Do what you want. Alright, one more breath. Alright, so this leg is going to go all the way back behind me, like that. And then I'm going to take this arm up front. So I'm going to lose this block real quick. So we've got a little spinal balance. Whee. Draw in a bit through the sides of the waist. Stretch. And we're going to bring it down. Take it back to that wide knee. And do whatever you want to call this pose. Reaching under the bed. Child's pose with a twist, whatever you like. And hopefully you're on your other side. That's the most important part. We do both sides. A few more breaths. And then we're going to come out of there, bring the opposite leg forward for the lunge. Some days are days when you've grown. All right, and then kind of rocking back and forth a little bit. Feeling out this stretch right there in the front of the hip. In here, and then stay a bit. Again, you can stay or keep it moving or back it off. Two more breaths. your hips back and feel your way into a hamstring stretch. And this is the perfect time. Like, if you already know what we're doing, this is definitely a chance where you can close your eyes. Just take away some of that sensory information. Feel your way through. One more breath. I'm going to kind of take myself back again into that spinal balance. So that leg goes up and the opposite arm. Stretch between those 2 points. Ooh, hug it through the sides of the waist. It's a little wobblier with my eyes closed. Nice big breath. Bring it on down. Give yourself a little rinse. Now, I'm going to go back to child's pose for just a moment and just put my forehead on the floor because that feels nice. And then we're going to take downward dog. So when you're ready to do downward dog, you can go right in there. For any reason downward dog is not your jam, you can just stay with the child's pose. Right, y'all. Give ourselves a little bit of a rinse. And when you're ready, come all the way up to standing. Got a few wardrobe malfunctions to correct. And then, I shall be ready. So, we're going to stand at the top of the mat, whatever you perceive the top of your mat to be. It's more fun when your yoga mat's a circle. A little more challenging to decide where the front is. But sometimes, you know, maybe the front's over there. You get to decide. Break out of your thought patterns, yogis. Try something new. Alright, so we're going to stand in mountain pose for a moment. This is my favorite pose right now, just because of all the uncertainty and everything in the world. That's so wild. I let myself think about it too much. It becomes kind of terrifying. Mountain pose, like this pose where you just stand and hold your ground, has become kind of a theme for me a little bit. Just stand and be present, Candy. Just stand and be present. And figure it out as we go. So I'm going to shift all my weight into my right leg, and I'm going to start with a tree pose, right? So trees are amazing, and they come in lots of varieties. So you can decide what kind of, hi friend, what kind of tree you want to be. Do you want a big branch tree? Do you want your branches to stay in a little bit? Maybe your branches wrap around the back. You get to be your own kind of tree. I'm nestling myself in here amongst my plants. Take a nice big breath. We're going to pick up this left leg and step it back. So we're going to take a warrior one shape. So the warrior one differs a little bit from the lunge. So when we're doing a lunge, the hips face forward, we're up on the toes. For warrior one, just put your heel on the ground, and it's going to spin out a little bit at an angle. Now, depending on your anatomy, that could be a little bit of an angle or quite a lot of an angle. Whatever just happened, we want the hip, the knee, and the ankle to all move together in a unit. So that will keep our knee from causing trouble, okay? So we're going to ease like the feet away from each other, so we've got a good, solid, lots of muscle action to protect the joints. And then if you want to turn your rib cage forward more, excellent. If you feel a little wobbly, widen your feet out a little bit, so you got a wider base, and that'll keep you a little more steady, okay? Now we're going to bring the arms up, because this is one of my favorite things. And then we're going to pull them back behind us, and then we're going to push them forward. Turn your pinkies so they face together. Bring your arms as high as you can. Pull the shoulder blades together, push it forward. Oh, I love this. One more time, yogis. Now we're gonna do a little shoulder thing. So we're gonna go forward. This is my left leg. That left elbow is going underneath, and I can hold my thumb. Some people can put their palms together, and some of us are never gonna get anywhere near that, so you just figure it out. Elbows go up, take your arms up. Could look like that, could look like that, okay? So it's whatever your arms will do. We'll pause here, press the feet away from each other, let the hip go with the back leg. Everything's working together in a chain. Last breath. Nice. Now release your arms, and we're going to fold forward into a bowing warrior. You can lace your fingers together and do a little shoulder opener here. I'm going to let my arms get loose. I'm going to the diagonal. I'm going to take a couple of blocks, put them out here in front of me. Hopefully you can see that. And then I'm going to let myself bow inward so that my arms, I wind up with a little bit of a shoulder opener in the back of my shoulder, just because I'm kind of allowing myself to hyperextend back here a little bit. There's not any weight in my arms, all my weight's in my legs, so it feels nice. Very minimal weight in my arms anyway. It feels so good, yogis. Take a big breath. Now, you can step into a down dog or a plank, do a vinyasa where you lower down, come into a cobra or an upward dog, come back to down dog, step up to the top of the mat. Or you can just step up to the top of the mat and start right there. Okay, so you get to modify it a little bit, make it your own. And then if you decided to do the vinyasa, you got stuff to do. And if you didn't, then you're going to stand in mountain pose and feel it. And wait for your friends. Because this right side now has a different sensation for me than the left side, right? And so I want to take a few moments just to appreciate that. And then by now we should have anybody that was practicing with us we're all kind of arranged together. So we're going to shift the weight into the left leg, bring the right leg into the tree, decide what kind of tree you're going to be, and grow as deep a root as you can, get nice and steady. Sometimes there's wind in your forest. Take a nice big breath, and then we're going to step that guy back to warrior one. Okay? And then again, like feel the pose out. Try to find the point where your legs can kind of engage and stretch away from each other. You can rotate your rib cage a little bit, just playful. When you start to feel your hip go with you, pause and stop. Arms come up, bring it back. Whoa, push forward, pinkies together. Pinkies together, arms back. Push forward, last one. All right, so this time my right arm's going on the bottom. This one's a little tighter for me, so it might look like your easy side. Stretch the mat between your 2 feet. Nice big breath. And releasing the arms again, we're going to take this into that humble warrior, bowing warrior. And you can add the bound arms or do this little hyperextended sort of arm. It's almost like downward dog and warrior one had a baby. Stretch the feet away from each other. The shoulders and the arms get as relaxed as they'll get. You might have your eyes closed. They might be open. Nice deep breaths, about 3 more. So you can either step back into down dog, do a vinyasa, or step up to the top of the mat. And then we'll arrive all together in a downward dog, in a mountain pose, from a downward dog, eventually. And then notice when you get here, Is there a difference? Now I'm going to take a squatting pose. So if you're still needing to catch up, that's fine. For me, that means I'm going to take my feet out a little wide. And I'm just going to see how low my hips will go, which for me is not very low. But for you, it might be quite low. And so I'm letting myself kind of fall forward a little bit here so that I've got a rounded shape in my back. So that's called malasana. The theory is we sort of look like a little bead on a string. I don't know if that's true, but maybe. It's a nice kind of grounding posture for me. It feels very earthy. And if I've been too much in my head, it feels like a nice way to kind of relax. And I can even make myself a little forehead rest. So 2 more breaths here. Now I'm going to turn this into a forward bend. Oh, I've got wide legs, but I'm going to hang out here for just a bit. And again, I might want to just put my forehead down on something. Bend your knees as much as you need to so that your chest rests on your thighs. So straighter legs feel good for a little while maybe. You can do one leg straight and then the other. You can have straight legs, but if it feels like you're pulling at your butt bone, definitely bend your knees. No one has time for torn hamstrings. They suck. Alright, yogis, take a big breath. Now, we're going to step back into a warrior two, but I'm going to start low. So I've got my hands on 2 blocks. I'm going to pick my left foot up and step it back. Okay. Need a little bit more water. Hold on. I'm feeling slippery. Okay. Now. Yeah, that's better. From down here, I'm going to come all the way up into a reverse warrior. Okay? So I'm going to start with that kind of side angle shape, come all the way back, and then I'm coming all the way back down. Now if that's too far, just do halfway. Come all the way back, come all the way back down. So I'm trying to almost make a circle with my body. Can you see it? Can you feel it, more importantly? Good. So we're going to come all the way up, straighten out the front leg. And then take this into a triangle pose, and now I'm going to get a little more angular, right? So I was making what felt in my body like circles. Now I'm going to try to make what feels in my body like straight lines. Given the fact that neither of those 2 things is actually true. It's just the way it feels. Again, you can do whichever version of the triangle seems like a plan to you. Doing a triangle where you hold on to something or float, you look up or you look down, you have a bound arm or not. Last big breath. Now, I'm going to come all the way around to the front. Oh, I want my toes to more or less point forward. Could be a little bit more or a little bit less, depending on how it feels. And then I'm going to take this wide angle forward bend, however far it seems appropriate. You can bend your knees. Whew. And do a little side to side where one leg is a little straighter, one leg is a little more bent. Just be kind. Up, we're going to turn all the way around to the side on the other side. So you might be facing the other direction. Okay. So theoretically, we're in this side angle kind of shape. And we're going to come all the way up into reverse warrior the other side, so hopefully you have a chance to turn yourself around or just pretend you know what's going on. All the way back over, and all the way back. And all the way over, whoa, and all the way back. A little wobbly. Okay, one more. All right, so straighten out the leg. Come into a triangle. Again, kind of working with the angles that you've got. What feels good on each side. You might even close your eyes so you just feel the pose. Big breath. Undo everything. I'm going to come back into downward dog. I'm going to rotate all the way around so you can see the clock. There we go. And then we're going to come all the way onto the belly, so you can do a little plank. You can modify your plank, lower down with control. And then we'll come into a little cobra. So just a little baby cobra action. Really working the legs, the glutes and the back muscles. So not pushing from the arms at all, but using the arms to create broadness across the collarbones. So one more little cobra. And then we're going to bring the elbows up front, so that they are positioned a little bit forward of the shoulder and a little bit in. And then relax the chin toward your chest. And then swing that chin up over your shoulder. Look out. Maybe you can see your little toes back in the back on one side. Swing it around, look the other way. Maybe you can see those little toes. Come back to the middle, go up over the right. Come back to middle, go up over the left. Just go back and forth. Your chin is just traveling up to your up your collarbone on both sides. To the shoulder. One after the other. One more time on each side. Let the head and neck relax. You're going to come back to hands underneath the shoulders. Do a little cobra. Slide the hands back a little bit. Do another little baby cobra. Collarbones wide. One more time. Little baby cobra. Now, slide all the way to the right edge of your mat, as far over to the right as you can go. And then you're going to bend your right knee. Take that leg, flip it all the way around so that you flip over onto your back. Right foot is resting on the floor. Left leg is straight. We're going to sit straight up to the legs. Okay. So now I'm sitting on my mat, facing the back end, or what was the back end when I was standing the other way, holding onto my right leg, okay? Now I'm going to drop this leg open, but you can leave the knee up. That's a choice. Sit up nice and tall. We're going to twist towards the right. So because I dropped my knee open, I can grab hold of my shin or my ankle if I want to, or just let my arm relax. If you've got the knee up, you can kind of wrap your arm around your knee or your elbow. The left leg we're going to turn on. So mine was relaxing out to the side. Now I'm going to turn it so the toes point straight up, bend the knee a little bit, and then I'm going to try to pick my kneecap up so my quads are super active. Sit up a little taller into that activity that your quads are doing, and breathe. Breath. And then we're going to come around. Now, I'm going to leave that left leg where it is, but I'm going to move my left hip back just a little bit. So it sort of faces me towards that left side, then I'm going to fold forward. Okay. mindful of how your back feels. Maybe grabbing your toe is not the right answer. You should just put your arms out to the side. You can keep your spine much longer. You can take a little bit more movement in the pelvis if it's available to you, but if it's not, don't keep trying to go forward with your forehead. Like, keep your spine nice and tall. Keep the quads active. Sometimes they let go. Take one more breath here. Good. So then we're going to sit up nice and tall. We're going to straighten out the right leg. We're going to lie all the way down on our back and then roll back onto the belly. So we're in a position to do some cobras again. So babiest of baby cobras, you guys. Just a little baby cobra. Just lift a little bit. Good. Slide your hands back. Broaden your collarbones. Lift a little bit. Just little baby cobras. Lift a little bit. Okay. Scoot all the way to the left edge of your mat. Left knee bends. Take it all the way around. You're laying on your back with your left foot resting on the floor and your right leg straight, and then you're going to sit up. And again, you can leave that left knee up or drop it down the way I'm going to. Get your sit bones under you. Sit up nice and tall. Rotate to your left. And then once you get here, turn your right leg on. Toes point up. Knee bends a little bit. Really try to lift that kneecap up so your quads are active. Spread out your toes if that's available. And just feel that. Feel the way that all that work feels when you do it. More breath. And we're going to unwind, and which at this point drop your knee up, and if your knee was up, and then we're going to kind of get the pelvis back, fold forward again. Maybe you grab your big toe, but maybe not. If your pelvis doesn't want to fold forward anymore, you stop there, man. Trying to force your way to get to your toes, not good. Not good for you. Just lengthen your back, be where you are. Turn on your quads, try to pick up that kneecap if you can. Usually makes it a little bit easier to get the hamstrings to let go if we can activate the quads a bit. A couple more breaths. Big inhale. And we come up, and this time we're going to straighten out both legs and stay on our back. So we're going to wind up rolling on down there. We're just gonna let it all roll down. Oh, the slower you go, the more you have to use your abs. I was not sure how close I was to things behind me. But I'm grateful to discover not too close. All right, so we're gonna do a little bit of bridge work, but before we get there, let's give ourselves a little windshield wiper massage. Now, you have the option of doing a supported bridge or supported shoulder stand tonight if you want to do them. I'm going to do this with the block, and I'm going to put my legs up sort of like a shoulder stand, but it's a little friendlier on the neck and the upper back. So if you have any kinds of neck issues, doing a full shoulder stand can be really tricky, but this is a little bit better. So I'll show you two options so you can do it with almost no neck issues, and then a little tiny bit more elevated, but still pretty good. So if you have a block handy, have it nearby. If you don't have a block handy, then you'll do the first version. It does not involve a block. All right, so to start though, we're gonna do some bridge. So we're gonna put the feet on the ground, and this is a rolling bridge. It's called Dvipadipitham, which essentially means two-footed lifting of the butt. Lifting of the hips, or lifting motion. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're going to use both feet, and we're going to lift the hips, and then we're going to, take my toes off the ground because it's easiest for me to kind of pivot and move my pelvis. Then we're going to roll down one vertebrae at a time, and really try to feel your back touch the ground heavy, one bone at a time. So depending on how much muscle you have on your back compared to the amount of pointing out that your spinious processes do. You might feel the backbone first, or you might feel the muscle in your spine touch down first. But even if you feel the muscle first, try to feel for those bones coming down afterwards, one after the other. We're going to try to get just a chain movement, like one of each vertebrae at a time. Because doing this makes the little muscles that live between the vertebrae work. And that's part of how our spine stays healthy and supported, okay? So you lift the hips up as high as your hips will let you go. Given your anatomy, you'll be wherever you are. And then really try to scoop it down. Now my muscle touches the ground first, but then I'm really feeling for the bone getting heavy. And so I'm about right here with my bones. And then one more, and then this is the stickiest part for me, which is as I start to move from the thoracic into the lumbar. But I'm going to try to still feel each bone touch down one at a time. It's just a little bit stickier. And then I roll the sacrum into the floor, okay? So we're going to do that twice more. You just do it at whatever pace is right for you. Lift. Make sure your neck isn't under pressure, so you don't want to go any higher than your shoulders. And then really try to roll it down. Feel each of those bones moving. See if you can distinguish between them. It helps me to close my eyes so I can really feel them come down individually. Near the end, they roll down pretty smoothly all at once. Okay, right onto the sacrum. Last one. Powering from the glutes to get that lift, and then hold and steady with the glutes and the hamstrings to roll this thing down. Sometimes I'll even take the arms out as I get to the middle back, so I can really feel those bones come down. One at a time, one at a time, one at a time. Oh, that's nice. All right, so to do the supported shoulder stand without a block, and really this is just legs up. That's all it is that we're just gonna do a legs up position. If you have a wall or a couch or a chair or anything that you can put your legs up and lean them into, that's also really great. The other option is to take a block and you just lift your hips up like you're going into the bridge, and then you put the block underneath your pelvis. So I don't want the block under the curve of my low back. I want it under these big pelvic bones. So feel for the rim of your pelvis and put the block just right underneath the rims. You've got support for your sacrum. It doesn't feel like you're going to fall off, but it's not under your lumbar spine. And then you can try this. I do one leg at a time, try to shift the weight so that I don't get too abrupt, because I don't want the weight to shift abruptly towards my neck. I want to keep that really light and pretty much unweighted. So the back of my head shouldn't feel like it's getting weight, and I shouldn't feel any pressure around my eyes. If I feel that, then I want to back down. Maybe just do the bridge, okay? So this is a great pose for kind of giving ourselves a chance to be upside down, but it is a little bit more controlled, and I can keep the weight shifting towards my legs and away from my neck and shoulders. So if you have ever had issues with that, this is a great substitute. And then the pressure on the sacrum can be tricky, so you just make sure that it's not too much. A softer surface, sometimes like a little blanket over top of the block, is helpful. So it'll accommodate all the little curves of your sacrum. Some blocks are more forgiving than others. So I'm giving my legs a little shake just to kind of assist lymphatic movement. Get the lymph in my legs to drain up to the big ducts that live in the groins and behind the knees. When the lymph gets to the ducts, it gets cleaned out. That's what the ducts are for. So it's helping to keep me healthy in this world of craziness. Now you can stay here as long as you like. I'm going to come down nice and slow. Oh, I'm going to take my hips up off this block, pull it out, and then, I'm going to massage right where that block was by just, give myself a little rock. Oh, that's nice. And then we're gonna do a final relaxation. So I'm gonna take a big pillow, because I have one handy, and put it under my legs, but if you don't have that, a blanket or even your yoga blocks could work. Just put one under each thigh. Throw a pillow from the couch, whatever you got, man. And then let yourself relax. Even beach towels make good yoga props. If you don't have just bath towels, whatever, any props you've got at your house, anything you've got, you can make your head a little softer. I just folded my mat. Or you can put under your legs to make your legs a little more relaxed. Just grab what you got. For me, like a little bit of jiggling and jostling into place is helpful. And then relax your forehead, around your eyes, relax your jaw and your lips. Let your whole body soften. Yourself thinking about stuff, just bring your mind back to your breath, back to letting yourself relax. We're going to stay a little bit longer. take a nice moment here and just pay attention to the breath again. Take a nice big breath. Let go with a big sigh. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Stretch out your hands and your feet. Give your wrist and ankles some movement. Oh, stretch. Oh. Now, you can give yourself a little hug and a back massage for the road. Roll over to one side when you're ready. Or you could rock yourself up. I mean, that is a way to get an extra boat pose into your life. Sit up when you're ready. Thank you for joining me for a Thursday night candlelight flow, or candlelight, flowishness, whatever I feel like doing. So one night a week I give myself permission to totally go off book. Take a nice big breath. And a big deep sigh. Namaste, yogis. Welcome to your post-yoga deliciousness.